Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Tuesday, January 7th, 2025. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. Coming to you a little late today. We appreciate your patience. I have Bill Kurelic and Mark Porter ready to go. Obviously, a ton going on. Buckeyes getting ready for a trip to Jerry World to take on Texas in the semifinals of the college football playoff, the Cotton Bowl. Should be a very exciting game. Our Buckeyes are playing quite well. And we've got the guys here to talk about that, about Cruton, about guys in the portal, familiar names in the portal. And I think a really good show for you. First, got to let you know, multiple sponsors this week. Sponsor number one is Joy Mode. All right? It's big time for the Buckeyes. It's big time for you. You know when. Say goodbye to weak performance in the bedroom with Joy Mode's Sexual Performance Booster. This all-natural supplement is designed to enhance blood flow and make you more reliable. Joy Mode isn't just about better sex. Daily use supports healthier blood vessels, boosts heart health, and enhances your athletic performance. Expertly formulated and backed by science, it's proven to improve function by 50% in just 60 days. Simply mix it with a pack of water and feel the effects within 45 minutes. Take control. Get a boost anytime, anywhere, and never miss a beat. If you are looking to take your game to the next level, visit tryjoymode.com, tryjoymode.com, and use code Bucknuts at checkout for 20% off single purchases and 30% off a subscription order. That's tryjoymode.com. and use code Bucknuts for 20% off single purchases. All right. Bringing in guys who never land at a discount, and that is the great Bill Kurelic and the great Mark Porter. Gentlemen, we are yet to get to a regular week. I still don't know what day it is. I do know your Buckeyes will be taking on Texas, in Jerry World. This Friday, so that should be spectacular. However, we're going to deal with and we'll get to that, but we are going to deal with the news of the day. The transfer portal is closed, and that is air quotes. The tail of the transfer portal for each team, meaning once you're eliminated, you get 5 days, is becoming more and more interesting, largely because the better teams that go out, the better players that go in, which brings us to a name we all know here, Damon Wilson. Damon was in the running for his 2 years ago when he came out of high school in Venice, Florida, as one of those guys who Ohio State recruited the most. It came down, I believe, to Ohio State and Georgia. He picked Georgia. Bill, he's in the portal. If you could please tell us, did you expect him to be in the portal? What does Ohio State think of him being in the portal? How has he played at Georgia? Your thoughts. And then Mark will, of course, give us some video love to back that up.
I did not necessarily expect Damon Wilson to be in the portal. And for that matter, Georgia didn't either. He's a 6'4", now 250-pound edge guy that was in the class of 2023. As you mentioned, Dan, it was Ohio State or Georgia at the end. Ohio State really led a lot of his recruitment. In fact, I think generally speaking, most people thought after his official visit to Ohio State that that's where he was going to end up. And I have to say I thought that too. But it became a fierce battle at the end between Ohio State and Georgia, and he ended up picking Georgia. And it was a tough decision for him. He has spent 2 years at Georgia. The 23 season, he appeared in 12 games for the Bulldogs. This season, he appeared in all 13 games for Georgia. As you mentioned, the portal is technically closed, but when your team gets eliminated, you have 5 more days. Now, one thing I want to caution a little bit is that Damon Wilson is not, and I repeat, not officially in the portal right this minute. He is expected to go in the portal, and I think he will, but Georgia has been trying to convince him to stay at Georgia. That's how good that they feel he is and can be. They don't want to lose him. We will see if his name officially goes into the portal today. My gut feeling is it will, but again, I caution that a little bit because Georgia's fighting to keep that guy. If and when he goes into the portal, I expect Ohio State, from what I was told yesterday, who I talked to, I expect Ohio State to be a player there in the battle for him. I was told, think the 3 Florida schools, because he is from Venice, Florida. Think Miami, think Florida State, think Florida, think Ohio State because of what happened in his recruitment. He loved it at Ohio State on his official visit. I remember covering that. And again, he had a great official visit. And then Missouri is another team that was mentioned to me. But if and when he actually appears in that portal, he is going to have no shortage. Yeah, that'd be a good word. No shortage of schools that would like to have him. So we will see. That's kind of about as up to date as I can get right now, because I did check with somebody again this morning. They said that, hey, he's not officially in there yet. So we will see.
This is about as good a player as will come up in the portal when it comes to Ohio State. Glad they didn't napalm the bridge. Mark, we were big fans when he was in high school, and he has gotten plenty of playing time at Georgia. I think one thing that's kind of interesting, they refer to him as a linebacker. So I think he's played more in the 3-4 mold there. You saw him as on the outside. Mark, take it away.
That's exactly what I was going to point out is in JT and Jack Sawyer, we have 2 NFL type 4-3 defensive ends that will set the edge, stuff the run. Did you see the move where he just went underneath the blocker there? I'll go
back. Yes, I did.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff. Now, this is the kind of stuff you get out of a linebacker type defensive end at 240 pounds. This is the guy with rockets in his shoes, and this is the pass rusher. And I know some of the complaints have been, can our defensive ends get home? But our defensive ends are dual threat defensive ends. They're playing the run and the pass. This guy's strength is rushing the passer, sliding underneath blocks, doing all those type of change of direction things. You see him here against a very big offensive lineman there. Still has the power to get across and make a play. There are weaknesses with linebacker type 3-4 ends, but someone like this seems to supersede some of those weaknesses because he has some power. He's not all linebacker at like 210 pounds. This is a complementary player, kind of. You could rotate him in on certain down and distances, but he's probably an every down player for Georgia. Yeah. That's why they don't want to lose him. This is an NFL prototype for the 3-4 type outside linebackers. So, yeah, it's a little different than what Ohio State's been using, but it's a nice thing to plug into our repertoire. And you could certainly, compare him to like what we were going to do with like a Justin Hill, that backside werewolf type defensive end that's doing a lot. There you go, the jack position. So, yeah, this is very interesting, and I hope we're not getting excited for nothing here because it sounds like there's plenty of competition for him. But boy, what a nice tool for the tool belt.
Hey, real quick, Dan, I got a little kudos here. How many other podcasts not only have the discussion and all, but our Mark Porter right away has that video of Damon Wilson in action, and kudos to Mark, prepared as usual, and always really good to see the video of the kid too.
I don't know if I'm completely speculating here, but
there's another video I want to watch later today on a surprise prospect in Ohio that we probably need to watch and know about before he blows up. I happened to do some film study over the last couple of days, and I did oh wow, I didn't realize this kid was that good. So I know that I just digressed, but to Bill's point, we are going to bring you some bonus stuff and maybe some Buckeye in the Sky video. So this could be a video every episode for you listeners, not watchers.
My question about Damon Wilson is, I wonder, obviously there's the NIL vibe and stuff, and he's got to get paid, yada, yada. But I wonder if he's not looking for a place where they will play him more as a traditional 4-3 defensive end, just because that is where the money is. If you really think about it, if you go look at the draft right now, there aren't a ton of 3-4 linebackers projected to go in the top 50, but hand in the dirt 4-3 defensive ends, like for example, the transition Abdul Carter made this year from like kind of linebacker type to a guy with his hand in the dirt. I mean, Carter's going to go, I think, in the top 10. So that would be a big-time transfer. And let's say this. When these guys have popped in the portal and Ohio State has said they're going to try and go after them, they've tended to do a pretty good job here. And like everyone has said, they've built up a great rapport with him. Okay, another guy I want to talk about, Bill. Maxwell Riley, the offensive lineman from Ohio. He's been talking about a lot of schools. He's one of those guys. I've always found it interesting when people get down to a final 7. That's not a final anything. That's a lot of schools. However, Mr. Riley has said out loud, Clemson or Ohio State. So I wonder if he's being consulted by the Blake Miller group. I saw Blake Miller, who went to Clemson over Ohio State, is now getting ready for the draft. It always makes me a little nervous. Bill, the latest on Maxwell Riley, kind of a guy we've talked about for a long time, but maybe put him on the side burner for a while. Let's bring him back to the front burner.
Yep, he needs to be on the front burner because that decision could come later this month or, as the things stand right now, at the latest next month. And as you mentioned, Dan, he has said Ohio State or Clemson for the most part. I talked to Max again over the weekend just to see where he was at as far as, late November. He told me that 2 to 3 months decision time in a perfect world. He said that is still what he is thinking. And as you mentioned, Dan, 7 schools, but he said he's leaning right now to either Ohio State or Clemson, that those are the 2 schools he's leaning to. Hadn't completely ruled out those other 5, but I would be shocked if it's anybody but Ohio State or Clemson. And right now, I think you could put those 2 schools in either order you want to put them in. I think it's going to be that hard. In fact, he told me it is going to be a very hard decision for him. He has been impressed with Ohio State's offensive line and what Justin Fry has done, forming that offensive line again, so to speak, after the Seth McLaughlin and Josh Simmons injuries. He has been impressed with what Ohio State has done in the playoffs. He said that will be a bit of a factor in his decision. But on the other hand, Matt Luke, the offensive line coach at Clemson, he is impressed with what he has done with offensive line development. 1 year, Matt Luke was at Georgia, and all 5 of his offensive linemen that season were drafted. That's pretty good. He has a great relationship with both Justin Fry and Matt Luke. Proximity is on Ohio State's favor. It's going to be a very interesting decision. He said, again, in a perfect world, that decision will come either later this month or in February. But it's going to be hard. So who knows? Maybe it gets delayed. But that's the plan right now.
If you see me turning away here, I am looking at the latest from the transfer portal. It literally does update that quickly. The other night I was looking at it at midnight. I refreshed it at 1 a.m. There were 12 new names. Okay. Ironically, it's funny. Every time you pull it up, you see Tony Grimes is still playing college football, transferring from UNLV to Purdue, not coming to Ohio State 7 years later. All right, Mark. Maxwell Riley, your thoughts on him? Obviously, not your first rodeo with Maxwell. You've known him for quite some time. Your thoughts on Maxwell Riley, his recruitment, and where you it's easy for me to say, where are you projecting to play in college? Because I know I've heard tackle and guard.
I think he could do either one. I saw him actually week 1. This is not his video I was about to pull up. This is my surprise prospect. But it's going to parallel right after Maxwell Riley, so we might as well run it. I'm actually surprising Bill and Dan with this video, so they have no idea what I'm about to run. So you can see the fear in Dan's eyes. Like,
I'm good.
What is he about to play?
There's no nudity.
Maxwell Riley as a freshman looked like a senior, and he's done nothing but thicken up and get more veteran-like. I saw him against Benedictine this year. It wasn't the best.
How about height, weight? Updated height, weight, in your opinion?
Well, I've always seen him as around 6'4", 6'5". I know he's got the length to play tackle, but he does not feel as long as the Akron Hoban kid, Will, or Sam Greer. I almost said Will again.
Can I interject real quick? He is 6'5", 280 now.
Yeah.
And his dad is 6'8".
Yeah, I would say he looks like the bigger version, but I know when we saw him as a freshman, he wasn't that big. So I think there were people out there who started thinking maybe he was being recruited as a guard. But yeah, his movement, his nastiness, everything checks the box. We've been talking about him as one of the big four in Ohio, like Adam Conroy from St. Ignatius and Maxwell Riley, Greer, and who was the other one? Oh, down in the Miami Trace. Okay. And we've been saying there's other guys that maybe should be thrown into this box. Up at Menor, nice looking offensive lineman. Dan, pull up the video. Bill and I talked about this kid the other day, Cogden, at a Tuscarawas Valley in, it's a really small school.
Mineral City?
Yeah, Tuscarawas Valley. Did you see that? Yeah, he just went on a rampage of offers.
Time out. Okay. Rewind that.
Well, there's more like it. So watch this, Dan. Like there's a couple more where he absolutely eviscerates the competition. And it's not the greatest competition in Ohio. It's a lower division school.
It looks dangerous for the other team.
But look how big and long he is there when he gets in the open field. And you can just see that he is not done filling out. Now, go back to the summer. This isn't a secret player. He and his brother were both at the Ohio State camp. His brother was a senior, not quite as developed as the younger brother. But Bill will talk to you about the offers he just picked up recently. And there's a reason why. He's definitely an athlete at this size. He moves well. You see him here on defense, the long arms, 6'7", 295 or whatever it was. He's running down the field like a linebacker there. So when I was doing some of my film study, there are some kids in Ohio that we're definitely going to need to talk about. Landry Breed was the offensive lineman at Menor. Perez at Glenville, Eli Sanchez at Sandusky. So, as we get into this, there are going to be kids in Ohio besides that big four. This is starting to look like a pretty deep offensive line class for Ohio. So I know I kind of digressed away from Maxwell Riley, but that was a nice transition into Maxwell. Let's go, because there's other guys out there that could be, and this kid looks like he's just scratching the surface. He looks like he's thin and has plenty of development ahead of him.
As someone who has put together a high school highlight video for a child, that play they started off with, when that happened, the dad, note to self, open video with this play. That was ridiculous. I don't think I've ever seen that. For those of you who didn't see that, my guy's helmet.
Want to go back and do it again? We'll pull it up again.
That's worth it, man. Just do the first play again. Just point them out and pause it, and then ruin this kid's life once again. Bam, dude. That might actually be a penalty. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story. One time, the baddest. So Dayton had a football team when I went there. We were D3 champs, blah, blah, blah. But we had one guy on the team who was a total badass. And he played nose guard. His eligibility ran out and he played lacrosse. We went to one of the games. He hit a guy so hard in a club lacrosse game, the referee blew the whistle and made up a penalty. Excessive violence. It didn't exist in the playbook. He just hit the kid so hard he had to blow the whistle, and the penalty was excessive violence. So that guy plays with excessive violence, and we like to see it. I need to read an ad for you people here because this show does not come for free. We're a slave to the man just like everybody else, and that means a new sponsor, Rocket Money. You can see there on the screen right there. Rocket Money is a real way to get your finances in order. Those of you who have 1 million subscriptions at different places, just make sure this does not affect your subscription to Bucknuts, because the start of a new year, perfect time to get organized, set goals, prioritize what matters most, financial wellness, and that feels more important than ever. Rocket Money, I'm using it, and my goals feel achievable. All of my subscriptions right in one place, easily cancel ones I forgot I've been paying for. Rocket Money puts it all together. I can see my spending across all different accounts. I can clearly track my spending habits, see where I can cut back. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/gameon today. That's rocketmoney.com/gameon, rocketmoney.com/gameon. I once had a job where they gave me control of the budget and said, you need to cut blank and blank from the budget. I went into the subscriptions they had that were outstanding and job done. So if you can figure that out, it's not as bad as it used to be when people were subscribing to like Better Homes and Gardens and a million different magazines, but this is very helpful and can save you guys some serious cash. All right, let's go. Bill, I find it ironic that we competed with Tennessee, future home of David Sanders. We competed with Oregon, future home of Naeem Offer, Dorian Brew, etc. And now up against Texas, home of Brandon Baker, home of Quinn Ewers. A lot of familiar bedfellows here. I ask you this pretty much every time. Do you feel like there's a lot and momentum? Because I can tell when you're talking to guys, even Maxwell Riley said, look, Ohio State's playing in the playoffs has helped a little bit. It's hard not to get caught up in it. Do you think this is going to have a big impact on recruiting? And have you noticed that we seem to be competing with those who are trying to take our best recruits?
Yeah, I think it impacts recruiting. I mean, I had crystal ball Jacob Weatherspoon to Ohio State quite a long time ago, actually. But he kind of moved his decision back. At one point, he wanted to decide after the season. Then he said, well, maybe I'll wait till the spring or so. Last week, he announced a commitment to Ohio State. I don't know that that's a big coincidence there. So I think that it does help. It's not, a definite, but I think the better Ohio State does, they go out and beat Texas. Positive for recruiting. They go out and win the national championship. Positive for recruiting. I've long said any advantage, little, big, any advantage you can get in recruiting is a welcome advantage. And winning is an advantage. So I think it does help. I think, people wondering about when the class fills out a little bit. Well, I think it started with Jacob Weatherspoon's commitment.
All right. Once again, I was looking at the portal because that's literally how it's been. Let's go take some questions here, and then we're going to finish with a look at Buckeye in the Sky from the Rose Bowl because it was that glorious, and it also can kind of pitch out to the front here and let us know what we're coming up. Bill, we talked about Damon Wilson, Elijah Pritchett. Seems like every big name that comes in the portal, the Nutters want to know. I think Elijah Pritchett's a no-go. Am I right?
Well, as I post some people ask me about him. It's funny. As soon as a guy gets in the portal, I mean as soon as he gets in the portal, the questions come. And sometimes these guys know where they are going before they get in the portal, but not always. The minute they get in the portal, it takes a little time sometimes. But in the case of Pritchett, I was immediately asked about him, and I said, I've got to look into that one a little bit more. But I said that, there were some struggles for him at Alabama, both on and off the field a little bit. On the field, he was not great in pass protection, and that at Ohio State is pretty important. So I said that right now I don't necessarily, because of those things, see a great match there. And I said, let's see a little bit. He'd only been at that point in the portal an hour or whatever, but I didn't see a great match there, and I still don't. I think right now the school I would probably be thinking as far as Pritchett goes would probably be Nebraska.
Any thoughts on Acho's bulletin board comment that OSU is the worst quarterback? If this is the Acho I'm thinking about, my guy has other things to worry about these days. If you follow the news, go Zips. Anyway, someone will get that and enjoy that. All right. Let's see here. Mark, you talked about offensive line. You think this is coming? Landry Breed needs an offer. Mika keeping us on our toes in state. Mark, your thoughts?
Boy, as I am blowing these guys up and praising them, I would have a tough time. And I know if Bill and I sat there and watched all these offensive linemen again, which would be the next to be offered and based on what? Landry is definitely different than the player we just watched from Tusky Valley. Well, I think the Tuscarawas Valley kid has much more length and maybe much more upside down the road, but you don't know that. Landry looks like much more of a finished product. Debate it as you will, in a staff room, and who's the next guy. And then you throw in Jameer Perez and guys like that, Eli Sanchez from Sandusky Perkins. There are some kids who are going to make a case for themselves. If I had the time, and maybe I don't know if Ohio State has the time, I'd wait for them all at camp and put them through the ringer. There's a Jake Cook in that group, if everybody understands what I mean by that. There's a player that's going to work his way to be the clear-cut favorite of that next group. But I'm here to say there's bodies in Ohio we're going to need to look at.
Credit to Bruce is my guy. I got to tell you, Bruce and my sense of humor are both I don't know. Mine's very much affected by 80s movies with Rodney Dangerfield and such. Not the most highbrow. Bruce and I would probably enjoy a cold beverage, but I digress. Let's hit some questions here. And
I do have some Jacob Witherspoon video from Raw Talent the other night. We can save that for next week. I don't know how much we're going to dive in. I know we just mentioned him a little bit ago, and there's questions about some of these corners.
I want to knock these questions out, especially my guy Bruce. Was Sean Alston offered by Ohio State? I see he's committing January 11th and sounds like leaning to Penn State. Running back Painesville, I believe. Is that right? He's at the Navy All-American game. Go ahead.
He has not been offered by Ohio State, to answer that question. He is obviously, they know about him. He's on their board and all that. But to this point, he has not been offered by Ohio State.
Doug Shepard, isn't the 5 days up for Georgia players to declare? Yeah, this isn't the most stringent deadline in terms of when it's announced, when it gets in, when the paperwork is filed. So, yes, that's a hard deadline. The reporting of it and the access to it is not. So, I don't think that's an issue.
And actually, the 5 days isn't up. Their season ended Thursday night.
Sure, but also, I put it this way. People are saying he's not in the portal. His name has been on our portal thing. So there are guys who have said they're not going to be in the portal, and they haven't showed up. His was enough. There was enough thought, or there's something happened where his name did show up on our list. So it does seem like he's going to be in the portal. Well, let me get the other questions here. Oh, yeah, we have some nice from Doug. Mark, want to let everyone know, is your son doing well? I know he's back up on his feet.
Everything is on schedule, maybe a tad ahead here or there, depending on what you're looking at. But if you know anything about these injuries, you don't speed them up. It's a healing thing more than anything else. So, yeah, and actually doing one-step drops and throwing a football. So I'm happy to see him. If you know anybody who's injured and how much they sit on a couch or in a chair, you're happy to see him out of the chair. So I appreciate you guys asking.
My eldest son is in his 5th year of college because of injuries. Went to watch him play the other night. Off to a great start. Rolls his ankle. 2 weeks. It is really hard, man. I'll tell you, injuries are the non-glamorous but really a huge deal in sports behind the scenes. I cannot tell you how much time is spent discussing injuries, helping guys get back from injuries, dealing with the mental burden of injuries, worrying about guys who are going to get injured again who have already been injured once before. There's a reason. Go watch the movie Casino. The guy who's a sports bettor, his thing was he got all the doctors on board. That is what Vegas has. You want to know what Vegas has access to? Doctors. It's hard to go through, but we soldier through. All right. Bill, this is an interesting one. Ty Howard transferred to Ohio State from Duquesne. Not exactly what you would refer to as a football powerhouse, though it is listed, though it does reside in Pittsburgh. Could you bring everyone up to speed on Ty Howard?
Yeah, he is a Cleveland Villa Angela St. Joseph graduate. He is the brother of Ohio State signee running back Bo Jackson, who just recently graduated from Villa Angela St. Joseph. Ty Howard is about a 6 foot, little 6 foot, 200 plus pound guy, linebacker, special teams guy that signed with Ohio State the other night, I believe. Gosh, like you, Dan. right now the days kind of all run together and they're all crazy and you kind of forget which one. But I believe it was Sunday night that he announced he had signed with Ohio State. He has, interestingly, he played 3 years at Duquesne, but he has 2 years left because one of those seasons, he only appeared in 4 games. And if you appear in 4 games or less, you can take a redshirt year that year. One season he was in 6 games. Then this past season he played in all of them. So technically he has 2 years of eligibility remaining that he could use at Ohio State. And he, as I mentioned, has signed with Ohio State.
All right, Bill, let's go rapid fire here. Are they looking at any more tackles in the transfer portal, offensive line-wise?
Right now, there is not necessarily anybody out there that they're going after, but I see the Rottal Perry thing there, who has already been to Ohio State. He has not made a decision, which has been kind of surprising because he's made a number of visits. He's been in the portal for a while. He's from Central Connecticut State. A little bit surprising he hasn't made a decision. So I checked on him late yesterday, and got an answer that they were surprised he hasn't made a decision yet. And kind of looking into that as to why he hasn't made a decision yet. But he's still out there.
I got to guess. It has to do with the 1st and the 15th. All right. Are we surprised by Sam Williams-Dixon entering the transfer portal? Bill, I was a little bit surprised just because he's so young. Maybe he's seen the writing on the wall, but your thoughts, either of you guys?
I'll just go real quick and let Mark go then. I don't know that he's officially in the portal yet. I have not seen him officially in there yet. So, again, till they're officially in there, they're not officially in there.
And there you have it.
When we got the running back from West Virginia and the tight end from Purdue, I said, wow, it's great. You just made your roster better, but there will be ripple effects, and maybe this is one of them. You know, you can't keep giving reps to better players and not think other players are just going to stand there and, you know, let their careers die out. So
I also think, look, the days of us completely protecting our roster or anything like that, that's done. You're going to lose dudes. That's no longer in the variable column. That's in the constant column. You just need to disguise.
The team's getting better.
No, it's 32 minutes in, and my tongue and my mouth has decided the show is over. I'm doing my best here, believe me. Good question, and this is a question that comes up a lot. Bill, do you think they'll go after a kicker in the portal? I might add, how encouraging. Look, when it was 31-0 or 28-0, I didn't want them to kick a field goal, whatever it was. But when we saw Jaden Fielding hit those, about 40-yarders right down the middle, I saw Day give a pump fist, even though it wasn't a touchdown, like our kicker's back. Bill, do you think they'll go after a kicker?
I think you bring up a good point. How does Jaden Fielding finish the season? Right now, he's looking pretty good. That could all change with one missed kick, but right now he's looking pretty good. I think Ohio State will do what they do. They always monitor everything, high school, portal, everything to improve the roster if they at all possibly can. And I think they will continue to monitor things on that front.
Let's see here. It's sad that the portal is not successful. They have no place to go. That's true. Look at the basketball portal. It's way worse. I think last year, I don't know the number exactly. I'll get within a few percentage points. I think it was something like 35 to 40% of the kids who entered the basketball portal last year never got onto another squad. Football's a little bit different, I think, because you can probably the rosters are so much bigger. But look, the grass is not always greener. I think we know that. We know that very well. Let's see if we have any more questions here. Oh, yes. This is possibly Sam Williams-Dixon. Could it be that Quentin Judkins has decided to return? That obviously won't be announced until the season is complete here, but I was told last time, 50-50. So I know they want Quentin Judkins to return. The addition of the C.J. Donaldson would make sense as more of a complimentary back than anything else. All right, we're going to take a quick look here at Buckeye and the Sky. Then I'll read our final ad and go from there. We're just going to give you the first few plays just to wet your whistle. Mark, take it away.
Okay, there was a lot of question and excitement about this play. This was such a unique play. We were talking about in the front row, so I'm going to go into it in a little bit of depth here. When we look at this formation, you just have twin receivers here. And I was coaching a 6th grade team, and we had a play where we had twin receivers, and we'd run a deep guy here, and this guy on the inside would run an out. And if you imagine Jeremiah Smith as your fullback, it's a waggle play. You fake to the tailback, the fullback kind of check releases and goes out into the flats. I don't know if there's a play in the history of football that's more simple and more used. I think everyone's run it, a waggle, a bootleg, and that concept is very, whatever. And everyone in the front row was like, well, this play is obviously different. It's run like a zone read, but how does the next team stop this? Okay, and as we play this, we'll get into some of the details of this. And what basically the differences are is the receivers here are just going to block, and they're not going to go out for a pass, which if this is your flat defender for pass coverage and your deep third guy or whatever, it really confuses them. And wow, did it confuse Oregon as a play here. Jeremiah Smith is coming around, and you see here's the fake, and you could either run a waggle out of this or a zone read. You could keep it or not, but Jeremiah Smith turns into the quarterback here, and you just flip it over this guy's head. And as you can see, we're downfield blocking. I think the team that plays us next, they said, what is the adjustment to this? These guys would shed their blocks now, like a run play or a bubble or any type of zone read, where I think they were confused as to what is going on here. Is this a run or a pass? Jeremiah Smith is catching a ball, but he's catching it behind the line of scrimmage to keep everything, above board and legal here. So, yeah, these guys, he doesn't know what to do. This guy out in space is just riding this block because he is.
I mean, he's fully uncovered.
Yeah, like he has no idea. Like, I should have shed that a while ago. Now, the rest of this play is just Jeremiah Smith being special and, running down the field and whatnot. Here we have cover 2 or cover 4. Good job of disguising it. Your normal 3 linebacker coverage. So this is a very vanilla coverage. I like how the Ohio State uses the 2 outside guys to take those 2 safeties, and let's get them to the boundary as soon as we can. Let's widen those safeties, and now there's nothing down the middle of the field. And then it just becomes a race with your inside slot receiver. I mean, a lot of times there's a tight end here, and he can't get around that linebacker. He doesn't have the speed. Our receiver, Mekabuka, has the speed here. And then, I hate to be like this, but this was a little bit of luck. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. When you get a tip ball like this, it could have went either way, and sometimes it's your day. Against Michigan, we wouldn't have got this. This would have been a tip ball, and it would have maybe been an interception when you have luck like that. But today it's your day.
It's the weather.
Yeah. Cover 2 shell, same thing out of Ohio State. We just saw out of Oregon. Very basic concept. The cover 2 corners rolled up to press these receivers, put a little pressure in their face. Ohio State did a lot of 4-man rush, and you see that again here. But with all this underneath coverage in cover 2, this is a horrible play to try to run crossers through all those little bubbles and trying to find a spot in between all those bubbles. And then Simon just does a great job of, hey, I see the quarterback's eyes. I felt someone just go behind me, and he makes an early break on that ball. Probably should have been rewarded with a pick 6 or, something bigger.
We dropped 3 interceptions. That one, and he won't do it again. But Caleb Downs dropped 2. Go ahead.
When you motion the trips here, that makes your inside receiver, Jeremiah Smith, in the slot. Against cover 3, similar again. If you can get your inside guy to man up on this inside or middle receiver or middle safety, that's a mismatch. And again, you're just occupying these outside corners to create space for this one-on-one. Very flawed coverage and design. How do you let a receiver like this run one-on-one at your safety? This corner should technically be back here in cover 3, so he's there to intercept this if it is thrown. But he sucks up on the tight end, not realizing they're going over the top. So, again, great job by Will Howard to read it. Great play design. I don't know if you can get a number 1 receiver more wide open than Jeremiah Smith right there. There's almost nobody in the picture. It's like, it's almost like Jahmyr Gibbs the other night. Like, stop the best player in the NFL before he scores 4 touchdowns, Minnesota. Like, everybody knows it. And then this is the only other play. This is the same play we watched on the first snap, but this time Oregon makes an adjustment where they're going to be there and ready for Jeremiah Smith. You see the middle linebacker running out here to be there for this. And they've made an adjustment, but they've also slanted to this side, which is the worst thing to do if you're going to let the ball go run to this side. So I think we were in Oregon's head. I don't think the next team, these two, banana and the tail type plays, are going to get the next team. I think they're going to be coached up. And I think that's what this stuff does. Let Texas worry about this and spend time coaching it up, and you'll never see it again. It's a ghost. It's a part of your imagination for the next couple weeks. But other teams have to worry about it, and that's part of the Chip Kelly allure. He'll put stuff on tape. How about all of the unbalanced formations Chip Kelly put on tape through the past 12 weeks that other teams are filing back through? And there's probably a 30-minute session on unbalanced, this tackle eligible, tight end over, where Texas is wasting valuable practice time each day on stuff they may never see again.
Yeah. It's just incredible that, within the game, Oregon adjusted, and literally we scored a touchdown going the other way. That I would have given anything for just like a microphone right here on landing when that play started. Like, are you effing kidding me? They sank their battleship, man. You know what I'm saying? Like they picked the perfect combination. So,
yep.
All right. Boy, Trey's legs look fresh during that, huh? That was impressive. I'm wondering if we're not seeing depth of Ohio State as we go round by round here, coming through, and like all the things we talked about, like, hey, we wanted to see more of this guy. We want to see more of this guy. Maybe they actually, if you could take out that stupid game to end the season, which I still can't get my mind around, everything else follows kind of a nice little growth pattern here. We just have the one hiccup where we just like temporary insanity. I don't know what happened there, and then we're back up. So
I wanted to mention it last week, and maybe I didn't want to mention it because I don't want to jinx it, but other than the offensive linemen being dinged up, we lost two good ones. You've had a pretty good run on health and freshness and the rotations. Yeah. So anytime you do have a championship team, that is one of the secrets to success that's not really talked about is you got to that game at almost full strength, where a lot of teams were eliminated. We've had years, I just mentioned the 49ers a week ago, McCaffrey, Ayuk, their tackle, Bosa. It's like, how could you possibly win just based on the injury bug, where we're living right now as far as that goes?
I don't think that's the past, bro. I think that's the recent future, or whatever you'd call the recent past. That needs to be put in context. If it was over, it was like a month ago, bro. I'm not talking about, we're not talking about Orlando Pace here. And that's got to be handled. All right. I appreciate these guys stopping by. I'm going to read one more ad, but I'm going to let them go. Thank you, William. Thank you, Marcus. If you are still here, you are a fantastic Bucknutter, and I've got a deal for you. Are you ready to optimize your nutrition? Factor Meals is for you. You've seen it everywhere. Days of TV dinner or Tom Cruise and risky business, eating that Salisbury steak all frozen, that's a no-go. This stuff is delicious. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. How about this? And I need this one. Lose up to 8 pounds in 8 weeks with Factor Keto Meals. 40 options across 8 dietary preferences if keto is not your bag. Calorie Smart, Protein Plus. How about this? Wholesome smoothies, breakfast, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. You can reach your goals with the ingredients. This stuff is healthy and delicious. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/Bucknuts50 off. Factormeals.com/Bucknuts50OFF to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Appreciate everyone being here. We will be back on Thursday. Bells on, day before the game, and we will get after it. Have a good one, Bucknutters.